Again, I saw after some time people came with very huge loaded machine gun with chains and everything. And they're shouting, you open the gate and get them outside. The gate is not going to be open. He said, open the gate. And no, negative, no gate will be open.
Hi, I'm Kylie, just another Army vet. Welcome to another reaction video. So today I'm reacting to another Beer Biceps podcast. This is the Ranveer Show, Northeast Kashmir Conflict, survival stories and encounters with Colonel Rajeev. Because of the length of the video, I will be breaking this up into 4 parts. Let's get to it.
There's very few things in my professional life that I'm proud of, and being a portal for military stories like this is one of them. TRS has always aimed to bring you the kind of content that you will not be able to see on OTT platforms, that you'll not be able to see through movies. There's some kind of content which you'll only understand through extremely deep perspectives and extremely well-told stories. We've spoken a lot about the special forces on TRS. Special forces represent the highest amount of efficiency within the military. Most people know about the para-SF, which is the special forces of the army, the Marcos, which are the special forces of the Navy, the Garuda, which is the special forces of the Air Force. But there are other special forces as well. Colonel Rajeev The Ranveer Show represents the airborne forces. What the airborne forces are, his extremely detailed perspectives on the things he's seen during his military tenure. He served outside India as well. He served in Africa in its peak of turmoil. This podcast was so heavy for me that on the night of this particular conversation, I actually just cried myself. There's nothing going wrong in my life. There's no trauma that I'm undergoing, but this particular piece was extremely heavy even for me. I will let you slip into this particular episode because it's very close to my heart. I hope you enjoy it. Make sure you follow us on Spotify as well. It's Spotify exclusive. Every episode's available on Spotify 48 hours before it's available anywhere else in the world. This podcast was so heavy that I had to cancel my military podcast that I had in the following week just because I needed some recovery time. I hope you enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed creating it. And Rajeev sir, if you're watching this, it's only love for you. Thank you for opening up the way you did. Jai Hind. Enjoy the episode. Colonel Rajeev The Ranveer Show, sir, welcome to a very, very special military-themed episode of The Ranveer Show. Honor having you here, sir.
Thanks, Ranveer. Believe me, happiness is all mine. Thanks.
You know, there's a key word I use for certain podcasts, and the key word here is unpacking. Because I feel military personnel have just so much to share, so many experiences. And, I think when someone dies, when they look back at their life, it's all these experiences that are going to flash in their eyes and not necessarily what they achieved or didn't achieve according to societal standards of achievement. True. There's so many things on your LinkedIn, on your Instagram. If, say, I met you in Sweden and I was a Firank and I asked you what you do for a living, what would you say?
I would have said that a couple of months back, I used to kill people for my living, and these days I'm on a break. That would have been my answer, honestly.
Okay.
Yeah.
If I asked you to expand on that, what would you say?
Expand, see, in military, especially the kind of the job, people in the special forces or when you have been in combat operations, if I talk about a couple of months back, or most of my service, I have been into counter-insurgency operation or counter-terrorism operations. I've been into Assam, Manipur, Nagaland, J&K 2 tenures, and most of the time, whether it was the unit or with the deputation, I've been involved in action only, and that suits me. This is something which I always felt I'm best when it comes to combats. The second best thing that I feel I'm good at is training. Rest, thereafter, everything is secondary for me. So being in that line of duty, and most of the time, and preference by choice and by default or design, you say, I've been posted into these areas where I've involved into these kind of actions. And it gives you a tremendous amount of satisfaction because, mentally and physically, you are always at your threshold.
What do you mean?
You are into those combat situations where a snap decision, and in a couple of seconds, it can cost you your life. It is a question of life and death, especially for someone who is with you in the team. So it matters a lot. So जिम्मेदारी बहुत ज़्यादा होती है, and there is a lot of responsibility on your head. You always have to lead from the front. And there are a couple of people, you ensure that the number of the troops, those who go in the operation with you, the same number comes back. That threat is always lingering on your head.
I mean, it's a very kind of raw question for you.
Yeah.
Feel free not to give an exact number, but
Yeah.
are you comfortable giving sort of a number on how many combat situations you've been in? Like above a certain number?
Okay. Maybe more than 100.
More than 100?
Definitely 100. And I just tell you, although you not asked for it, but specific, I've been most of the time, and maximum operation that we have undertaken was in FIVO. FIVO is fighting in built up areas.
What does that mean?
Built up areas, it's something like Mumbai, tall buildings. It is not structured and organized, where a lot of people are staying and you carry out operations. Manipur is one example in that. J&K is another. So fighting in built up area in military terminology is one of the most difficult operations one can undertake.
Why is it?
So he's talking about MOUT, or military operations in urban terrain. But yes, it's the house-to-house and room-to-room fighting that is very difficult and dangerous.
Difficult?
It is difficult because there is no certain pattern. Every house that you enter, it has got a different layout. As per the social strata, your personal choices and preferences. It is very difficult. If it is a multi-story building, the kind of the operation you undertake is very difficult. The number of the rooms are there, it is very difficult. What kind of background the individual has. Some poor family is staying in a jhuggi jhopri, one is staying in a mediocre kind of a setup, somebody is staying in high strata. Every house has got a different design, different layout, different makeup. Demography is different. Very, very difficult to conduct in fighting and built-up operations.
Which year did you begin, your combat experience, like this whole combat journey? Like, when has it started?
I started having first-hand experience in 99, the year I joined my unit. The unit that time was in Kupwara. So that time it was an amazing team of my seniors, the great, wonderful CO, Tiger General Ravi Todge. So that was the year I got a hang of it in Kupwara. And thereafter, the raw of it, what I saw was in Manipur. That was my first posting when I went to apna deputation to Assam Rifles. That was amazing. Every day, 2 to 3 opportunities were there. Back to back, we used to have follow-up operations.
Why don't we talk about that a little bit? So if you could give the listeners some kind of context on the situation in Manipur at that point in time.
Okay.
Like what was actually happening there and why were you all required to carry out operations?
Okay.
So what part of India is Manipur in?
Those days, the situation as a youngster, when I look back, when I see, the situation was something when I landed up in Assam Rifle, I remember correctly, I was told by Colonel MS, it is a kind of appointment who deals with the posting in those areas. So I was told that I am the youngest officer posted in the Assam Rifle those days.
How old were you?
I was just with 3 years of service and I was about 24 and a half, 25. So when I landed up there, I was told when I interacted with the civilian, they asked me, are you from India? So there was actually setback. I think I'm in India. He said, no sir, आप India से आए, हम मणिपुर का है. What does it mean? You don't consider yourself to be part of the India? So situation was that bad. Believe you me, I'm telling you, there was not even a single book. There was not even a single newspaper. There was no movie in Hindi. It was absolutely banned. It was a kind of a parallel government which was running there. That was the kind of the hold the groups had.
What had caused that level of animosity? Was it like kind of feeling rejected from the Indian government?
No, maybe not from the government, I would say. Firstly, the lack of awareness.
Okay.
Exploitation is damn very easy and when people are not aware. And as such, life in mountains is very difficult. People have their own vested interest by anti-social elements, whether it is, anyone who has got political interest or the groups, those who have been working there, anti-national elements. It is very easy to exploit the guy who is not aware of what is right and what is wrong.
And the motivation at the top is almost always power or money.
Power
money.
corrupts and it corrupts absolutely. So I realized, people don't even consider themselves as a part of the India. It was a shock as a youngster. I never was aware of this brutal truth until unless I went on ground.
Are there any current communities or people in India that have those same feelings right now? Meaning, do they feel like they're not really Indian?
Well, most of them, they just wanted to pick up a weapon and have a feel of it. Yes, I'm powerful in this area. I have got power with me.
So I know a lot of people in India have never actually held or fired a weapon, but just from my experience, I can attest that yes, when you do get to actually hold onto a weapon or fire a weapon or throw a grenade, it is a complete feeling of power that washes over you. So I can completely relate to how those kids are feeling.
So as a youngster, you're dealing with a youngster. He also have got a weapon. I also, as a youngster, has got a weapon. So it's very difficult. Two people of the same age group. One has been trained by the military, and second, and is totally disoriented. He doesn't know. He just have a weapon, and he want to have that raw sense of power. Yes, I am powerful. And it is very difficult sometimes when you face a situation like this.
The question I wish to ask you at this point is the first kind of dangerous combat experience where you felt like, oh, okay, my life is in danger here.
Only once in Northeast, if you ask me, the initial combat days. We entered into some house. It was again fighting in built-up area. So we were aware that there were people. The input said ki whether they are in possession of weapon or not, we are not aware. Fine. So we had assumed all kind of contingencies, but we had never thought that it can happen this way also. The moment you open the door and you will find someone and a pointing weapon at your head. Now this was something which we had never assumed, but it happened. Murphy's Law. It had to happen.
Because of the lack of weapons in the Northeast generally.
No. Because the guy was in a very tight situation and his neck was in the noose. There were no outlet to go out of the house.
Okay.
So he thought there is only one option. The moment I take a first shot, the moment you take them by surprise. I think probably that was the mindset. You just enter it and you take it by surprise. So we had never thought in wildest of dreams that the moment we, generally the tendency is you open the door and you throw some grenade and wait for some momentary reaction. But no, the moment we kicked the door and opened it, the guy was bloody standing with his weapon in his head and he just put it on the head. And when you face situation and you go black, I went black at least that time for a moment. And maybe luck was in my this thing and he pressed the trigger, nothing worked. Maybe the weapon was faulty. There was some technical snag, but it never worked.
Wow.
But it still took me in a couple of seconds to, master my senses. It happens. Your nerves goes blackout because I never expected it is going to happen. Ki kholte hi, the guy will be in front of you.
What was going on?
So him taking 2 or 3 seconds to come to his senses, that's exactly what Marco's Colonel Rawat was talking about on his Beer Biceps podcast.
On your head?
Nothing.
Just blank.
It went blank because, I was prepared that once you enter and I'll go this side or that side, this is what I'm going to do. I was part of the room intervention drill. I was in the leading party. But the moment the guy, he had put the weapon on your head, I went blank. Only for a couple of seconds. And then he also went black. He was also surprised it didn't work. Then he cocked his weapon again. Meanwhile, those seconds were good enough to get back to his senses. And then I had given a solid hit on his blood, on nose and mouth. Then we were able to check on that guy. I was able to catch him.
When you look back at this entire Manipur experience now, and we're just at that part of your tenure at this point of the podcast, when you look back at that entire Manipur experience, what was your one learning from it? Because it was an early part of your army tenure. So what really stayed with you?
Two things stayed with me. One from the military perspective and one from the civilian perspective.
Sure.
In fact, I will tell you three. And one from the militant point of view. Three things. Firstly, about the military point of view. I was serving in Assam Rifles. I realized that they are known as Sentinels of the Northeast, an amazing force. You go to one company, you will find people, it is a mini India, you are commanding as a company commander. People speak multiple languages. People from north, east, west, south, you name a state and the guy you will find within the company. So this is one potent force I realized which can operate with great smoothness in any part of the country. Any language interpreter, it is at disposal. And still the beauty was they all used to speak Gorkhali, Nepalese. 100% of them, whether it was a Sikh, whether it was a Khalsa or a Tambi, they spoke fluent Nepalese. They had same eating habit. This was something amazing. And experience. There is no substitute for experience. In Assam Rifle, even a Jawan, he serves till the age of 60. There's no other force where people serve till that. So guy, imagine carrying out 40 years of experience. He might not be knowing English. He might be a little poor at the weapon handling, whatever. The age is not in the plus side. But experience is something, they can give you the best advice, one of the most professional advice.
In terms of combat situations.
Yeah, in combat situation. I give you one specific example. There was some input, we had to go to some place. So I asked boys, okay, so what is the route? Who knows map reading? In special forces, infantry, RRU, always open map, when you're going to new area. Assam Rifle, I got over this. I never used map. I never used GPS. Why? Because I had walking encyclopedias with me. All I had to ask them, we have to go to location XYZ. What are the routes? People used to give me multiple options. So 4 routes. One route, we go, but only small vehicles. Traveling time, so much. Potential threat, this much. There have been 2 incidents on this road. year so and so with specific details, how many casualties, which group, everything. This is the second route, so longer route, it is going to take this much time. Plus minus is this. So third route, no vehicle, only by foot. It is going to take shortest, this much time, and these are the advantages and disadvantages. It was amazing. They knew every no corner, bridge. They had every detail, printed on their mind. Because they were static. They used to stay, at they used to stay at one location for many, many years. Subsequently, that rotation thing started. So this is one experience from combat point of view, army.
So that's an example of why having experienced soldiers is so important.
From militants, I realized that those groups, those who used to operate, they had a very strong ethical and moral code of conduct. It is amazing. Not even an iota of there is when I compare it to the J&K. I've seen any group guy doing any wrong thing in the public against the code of conduct. There used to be the headline in the newspaper. The individual so-and-so, a cadre of this group had done something wrong. Apologies on behalf of the commander and organization so-and-so. We apologize to the public, to the son and daughters of the Manipur. A code of inquiry has been constituted, headed by Colonel so-and-so, and this is the board composition. And the entire board proceedings, along with the decision taken against the individual, will be published in the newspaper. They had a strong ethical code. They never did anything wrong to the ladies, to the children, to the elderly people. And even a Fauji officer, or Jawan, if he was in any public place with his family, they were your walking insurance policy. Give me one example in the world where people have got this kind of code of conduct. You will not find. I can bet my even pension or commission on this. Any Jawan or officer, any person, whether it is BSF, police or anyone, you will not find one single example in the history when people were with their family and anybody has caused any harm to them. It demands a lot. That is from them. Third example from the public. Again, if you are being nice to the people, I realized you respect age, you respect gender. Children, women and elderly people. Nothing will happen to you. Nothing against the organization. You have to have a very solid reason, to go against that pulse of the environment, to get on the wrong side, so that people go against you. Otherwise, you respect them. I remember I had taken participation in dance. There are local dances people do on various occasions with boys and girls holding their hands as a youngster and doing dance on the road. Thangal Chomba, if I remember correctly, that was the dance festival they used to do. I'd gone to the remotest areas to attend a marriage function in the night without even carrying a weapon. Just only on the gut faith. Maybe I was wrong. People say you were mad. Of course, I'm okay with it. But I'd attended marriages where I'd gone there alone, only with a driver. I knew if somebody had extended an invitation to me, they are my insurance policy. They will insure my safety. And they proved me absolutely correct. That was another lesson. The situation in an area is as good or bad as you are. Highly applicable in Northeast. That is the third thing what I learned from them. So I'll give you 3 examples. One from the cadre point of view, one from the military and one from the civilian.
What would an army veteran like yourself want to say about J&K that the audiences don't know right now? And these are international audiences. And I feel international audiences have a very skewed perspective on the Kashmir situation. But even when it comes to Indian audiences, most of the perspectives are built because of traditional news media, which may not be reporting the truth on ground. You've served there, sir. I feel if there's anyone who should have an opinion, it's the folks who serve there. So where would you even like to begin this conversation?
Ranveer, I'll tell you, first thing to the audience, I would say it is very easy to have an opinion. Okay? But opinion changes and it changes really damn fast when you're on ground. So one thing people should be very clear about, there is a hell lot of difference between the real life and the real life. Don't go by what media shows you, what a documentary or the movie shows you. Just go as a tourist, spend some days, get to know the location. I'll suggest very good exotic locations to them. You should go there and spend some time and never go alone. Go with your family. Then also the opinion changes. When you're going alone, things are different. When you go with your family, that sense of security, it changes. So don't go with the real life, go into the real life. Even as a tourist, you go, I'm telling you, you'll get a hang of it. Imagine in your own country, you're going to a place, but you see every 10 steps, there is a guy who's standing there to protect you. So that you can have a selfie, you can have a comfortable stay there. So everything seems to be tiki boo. But the moment I take out those guys from there, how many guys are there who are going to volunteer? Okay, I want to go to,
Tiki boo? Can somebody please explain what that means?
No, you will not even cross the tunnel. That is the difference. And the people who are staying, and I always say, okay, if you want to bring the difference, it is not, no man can play an act alone. Everyone, you require a team. And when I say team, when we call it a country, it is not only the boots on the ground or the man with the gun. It is the common man. It matters a lot. They are one of the most important stakeholders. Now things have changed. Those, important sections have been revoked. It had made a lot of difference in the environment. And slowly and slowly things will change for betterment.
You think it's getting cleaned up?
Yeah. As a military person, I am damn sure about it. The moment, it has been revoked, it had made our task a hell lot of easier. I have seen a time where actually, I'm telling you, this is a fact. I don't know how many people are aware of it. I landed up at the Srinagar and I saw Indian Army and dogs are not allowed. Is that statement acceptable to you? Imagine being in army and being in uniform and you read something like this written on the wall. What state of mind? And I was furious. I thought, pata nahi kya kar dein karke. But what you can do? You don't even know who has written it. And you find it places. There have been instances when I get a call, sir, I'm moving a dead body of a martyr. And the people have blocked the route. Flight is after 1 hour. What do? I don't know what to do, what your commanding officer is telling you. I can only tell you, had I been in your place, I would have gone to an extent to ensure that this body reaches home at the time. Things happen thereafter, of course. But this is the environment I have seen, Indian Army and dogs are not allowed. Okay? I've seen Pakistani flag. Okay? Pakistani board. Okay? And
where is
you
this?
dare not go to places like Lal Chowk. Today you see, there is a Tiranga at Lal Chowk. The perception changes. Those kind of stupid boards are not there. And all those agencies which were actually creating a lot of havoc, they have been nailed in the bud. The environment is getting clean. It takes time, of course, to clean anything. Swasthya Abhiyan hai, jor lagta hai, shuru mein you start from one end, you clean and you start from your home. So I'm sure the start has been good and it is going to go a long way. It might take some time, but what I know, definitely there is a difference and things are going to improve in days to come.
So far, I'm really enjoying this podcast. I think he's very well spoken and I'm glad he's being so frank with Ranveer. And yes, I agree with the fact that you need to get your news and information from multiple sources. And of course, the best place to get information is right from the source itself. So become a tourist and learn what a community is all about firsthand. I mean, that's the best way to do it. Once the next part's filmed, I'll put it right here. Thanks for watching.